Rain poured over the glittering city skyline as Ryo Tanaka stood outside the towering glass headquarters of Aizawa Corporation. He adjusted his cheap tie, staring up at the floors above where his new wife, Mina Aizawa, the powerful CEO, worked. But this wasn't a marriage of love, it was a contract. A deal made by Mina's father before he passed away, to merge their struggling family business with Ryo's late father's small company. Now Ryo lived in his wife's penthouse, her world, her rules. She barely spoke to him except for formalities. To her, he was a shadow, a name on paper, nothing more. That night at a company dinner, Mina introduced him coldly. "This is my husband, Ryo. He handles domestic affairs." Laughter followed from the crowd of executives. Ryo smiled politely, swallowing his pride. But when Mina turned away, he caught the faint shimmer of a tear in her eye. And for the first time he wondered, was she hurting too? As the lights dimmed and the music faded, a mysterious man appeared at Mina's side, whispering something that made her expression go pale. Ryo clenched his fists. "Who was that?" She didn't answer, but the look in her eyes said it all. It wasn't the first time she'd seen him. The next morning, sunlight poured through the penthouse windows, warm, golden, and indifferent to the tension hanging in the air. Mina sat at the marble kitchen counter, sipping her coffee, her expression unreadable. Ryo approached quietly, trying to break the silence. "About last night, who was that guy?" She didn't look up. "Just someone I used to know." Her tone was sharp, final, but Ryo wasn't convinced. He noticed her hand trembling slightly as she stirred her coffee. Later that day, while delivering some documents to Mina's office, Ryo overheard voices from inside. "You shouldn't have come here," Mina said, her voice low but shaking. "You know why I came," the man replied, the same one from the dinner. "You still wear the ring I gave you." Ryo froze outside the door, heart pounding. He wanted to walk in to demand answers, but he couldn't. Not yet. That night Mina came home late, perfume mixed with the scent of rain and regret. She walked past him wordlessly, but her eyes glistened with tears. Ryo sat alone, staring at the wedding photo on the table. Two strangers smiling for a camera. He whispered to himself, "Maybe this love was never meant to start, but I'll be damned if I let it end like this." Outside the window, a black car was parked across the street. The same man from before sat inside, watching their home. Thunder rolled across the city as the night deepened. Ryo couldn't sleep, not with that car parked outside, the same silhouette watching from behind tinted glass. He grabbed his jacket and stepped out into the cold rain. The car engine started the moment he approached, headlights flashing once before disappearing into the fog. "So you are watching her," Ryo muttered under his breath. The next morning, Mina found him standing by the balcony, drenched, eyes red from exhaustion. "You went out last night?" she asked softly. "Yeah," he replied. "You've got someone following you, or maybe following us." For the first time, Mina's mask cracked. She looked genuinely afraid. "You shouldn't get involved, Ryo. It's dangerous." Her words only deepened his curiosity and his feelings. Later that day, while Mina attended a high-stakes investor meeting, Ryo received an anonymous message on his phone. "Envelope with arrow. If you want to know who your wife truly loves, meet me at Pier 17 tonight. Come alone." The message was unsigned, but Ryo already knew who it was from. At the pier, the air was thick with mist and sea salt. The man from before was waiting, Shun Kuroda, Mina's former fiancé. "You don't deserve her," Shun said, his tone calm but venomous. "You think a contract makes you her husband. She was mine before your family bought her life." Ryo's jaw tightened. "Maybe, but she's my wife now and I'll protect her." Shun smirked and turned away. "Then protect her from the truth. She's hiding something you won't survive knowing." Before Ryo could speak, Headlights flared in the distance, a car speeding toward him. He dove aside just in time as the vehicle screeched past and vanished into the darkness. His phone buzzed again. Envelope with arrow, next time you won't be so lucky. Ryo looked back at the pier, breathing hard, but Shun was already gone. And when he returned home, Mina's office door was wide open, papers scattered on the floor, and she was nowhere to be found. Ryo's pulse raced as he tore through the penthouse, calling her name. Mina, Mina, where are you? Her phone was still on the table, her handbag untouched. She hadn't left willingly. He noticed something odd on her desk, a single envelope with his name written in her delicate handwriting. Inside was a small silver key and a note. If anything happens to me, go to the old Aizawa villa. Don't trust anyone, not even the board. Ryo's breath caught. The Aizawa villa had been abandoned for years, the place Mina grew up before her parents died. He rushed there through the storm, the city fatting behind him as he drove up the long, cracked road into the hills. The villa was dark, but the door creaked open with a slow, haunting groan. Inside, dust and moonlight filled the air, and on the floor, he found faint footprints leading toward Mina's father's old study. The key fit perfectly. Inside the drawer, Ryo discovered a hidden folder labeled Project Phoenix. It contained documents showing illegal corporate transactions, money laundering, secret accounts, and Mina's signature on all of them. Ryo's hands trembled. No, this can't be her. Then behind him, a voice said quietly, "You weren't supposed to find that." He spun around and froze. Standing in the doorway was Shun, holding a gun. "You think you can save her," Shun said, stepping closer. "She's already gone, Ryo. She ran because she found out what her father did and what you're about to become." The sound of thunder cracked outside, and just as Ryo tried to move, Shun pulled the trigger. Bang! The shot echoed through the empty halls. Ryo staggered back, blood seeping through his sleeve, and Shun disappeared into the night. Ryo fell to his knees, clutching the folder. "Mina, what have you done?" Outside, lightning flashed across the sky, revealing a figure watching from the tree line. "Mina!" Her face pale, eyes filled with sorrow, before she turned and vanished into the storm. The rain wouldn't stop. It hammered against the roof of the old villa as Ryo tore a strip from his shirt and wrapped it around his bleeding arm. His mind raced. Mina alive, watching him. Why didn't she come to him? Why run? He stared at the folder labeled Project Phoenix. The documents showed massive transactions under Mina's name, but the dates didn't match. They were after her father's death, when she was only taking over the company. That meant someone else had used her signature. He stumbled outside into the storm, trying to follow the faint tracks left in the mud. They led toward the cliffs behind the villa and ended abruptly. At the edge lay something half buried by rainwater, a pendant. It was Mina's. Inside was a photo, her and Shun smiling years ago. On the back, a small inscription. "Forever begins when the lies end." Suddenly, headlights flared again. Ryo ducked behind a tree as a convoy of black cars pulled up near the villa. Men in suits poured out, armed and silent. He heard one of them speak into a radio. "The CEO's gone. Shun confirmed contact. Eliminate the husband if he's still here." Ryo's heart pounded. They were hunting him. He slipped through the forest, every sound magnified by fear. Then his phone buzzed, an unknown number. "Envelope with arrow, stop running. If you want her to live, come to the Aizawa Tower rooftop midnight. Come alone." The message was signed with a name that sent a chill through him. Mina. Ryo stared at the glowing screen, rain dripping from his hair. If it was truly her, she was alive, but if it wasn't, he was walking into a trap. Either way, he had no choice. As the clock struck midnight, Ryo stepped out of the elevator onto the rooftop of Aizawa Tower, the city lights glittering beneath him like a sea of broken stars. And there, standing at the edge in the rain, was Mina, her hair whipping in the wind, a single tear mixing with the storm. "Ryo," she whispered, "you shouldn't have come." A shadow moved behind her, a gun glinting in the dark. Wind howled across the rooftop, carrying the scent of rain and steel. Ryo's chest tightened as he stepped closer to Mina, every drop of water stinging his wound. "Mina, what's going on?" he asked, his voice trembling. "You were supposed to stay away," she said quietly. "They're watching us." Before he could respond, a gunshot split the night crack. Ryo lunged forward, grabbing Mina and pulling her down as the bullet shattered the rooftop lights above them. He rolled, shielding her with his body. Sparks rained over the wet concrete. From the shadows stepped Shun, the gun glinting in his hand, eyes full of fury. "You really came, Ryo, just like she said you would." "Shun, stop this," Mina shouted. "It's not what you think." "Not what I think," he snapped, his voice breaking. "You were going to marry me, then you signed your life away to him." Ryo gritted his teeth. "You think this is about money or revenge? You're being used, Shun. Someone forged Mina's signature, they're framing her." Shun hesitated for a moment, the rain pouring harder, blurring the lines between rage and doubt. Then he fired again. Ryo charged forward, tackling him to the ground. The gun slid across the wet surface. Both men grappled, slipping and struggling until Ryo landed a solid punch across Shun's jaw. "You don't even know who the real enemy is," Ryo shouted. Shun spat blood and glared. "Then look behind you." Ryo froze. Behind him stood Mr. Hanada, Mina's most trusted advisor, the company's CFO. He was holding a second gun. "You two were never meant to find out about Project Phoenix," Hanada said coldly. "But now that you have, there's no turning back." Mina stepped forward, shaking. "Hanada, you're behind all of this." He smirked. "Your father started it. I perfected it. You were just the perfect cover, Mina, the naive heiress everyone believed in." Ryo clenched his fists. "You'll never get away with this." Hanada raised his gun toward Ryo. "You won't live long enough to try." A gunshot echoed. For a second, time froze. Then Hanada's gun slipped from his hand as he stumbled back, eyes wide. He looked down, blood blooming across his chest. Behind him, Mina stood, her hand trembling as she held Shun's dropped gun. Hanada collapsed. The rain washed his blood toward the edge of the rooftop. Ryo turned to Mina. "You saved me." But before she could speak, she suddenly swayed, her knees giving out. Her hands were shaking violently, and there was blood on her own blouse. "Mina," Ryo cried, catching her before she fell completely. I didn't mean to," she whispered weakly, eyes fluttering. "There's something else you need to know about your father." And then her eyes closed. The storm raged on as Ryo held her in his arms, unaware that someone was recording everything from a nearby rooftop, a red light blinking in the dark. Ryo pressed his hand against Mina's wound, shouting her name as the rain poured harder, blurring blood with water. "Stay with me, Mina. Don't close your eyes." Her breathing was faint. Within minutes, sirens echoed from below. Someone had called the police. By the time the paramedics arrived, Mina had lost consciousness. As they loaded her into the ambulance, Ryo turned back, the rooftop now crawling with flashing lights, officers, and confusion. Hanada's body was gone. "Wait, he was just here," Ryo shouted, but the officer only shook his head. "Sir, there's no body here, just blood." Ryo's stomach dropped. Hours later, at the hospital, Ryo sat beside Mina's bed, her face pale and still. The rhythmic beep of the monitor was the only thing keeping him sane. Then a nurse entered. "Sir, this came for you." She handed him a small sealed envelope. Inside was a photo of his father shaking hands with Hanada years ago. On the back, a single line was written: "The sins of the father never die, they only pass on." Ryo's world spun. His father, involved with Hanada. Was his marriage to Mina more than a coincidence? Was it all arranged from the start to cover up something bigger? He needed answers. The next evening, he returned to the Aizawa Corporation archives, sneaking into the restricted floor where financial records were stored. The smell of dust and ink filled the cold air. As he rifled through files, he found an old contract, his father's signature next to the Aizawa Company seal. The contract title read, Joint Venture Project Phoenix. And under beneficiaries, Ryo saw two names: Mina Aizawa, Ryo Tanaka. "What?" he whispered. Before he could read more, footsteps echoed from the hallway. He killed the lights and hid behind a shelf. Through the glass door, a man in a long coat entered, holding a flashlight. Ryo's breath froze when he recognized the face: Hanada. Alive. Hanada pulled out a phone and spoke softly. "She survived, I know, but it doesn't matter. By tomorrow she'll wish she hadn't. The truth, about to destroy them both." He hung up, turned to leave, and then his flashlight stopped. He was staring directly at the shelf where Ryo hid. A slow, cruel smile spread across his face. "You shouldn't have come back here, Ryo." Ryo bolted for the exit as Hanada drew a gun. The first shot shattered glass, the second grazed Ryo's arm. He sprinted through the hallway and into the elevator, slamming the button for the lobby. As the doors closed, Hanada's voice echoed down the hall. "You want the truth, then find it where it all began, your father's grave." The elevator doors shut just as another bullet struck the steel. Ryo leaned back, heart pounding, blood dripping down his sleeve. His father's grave. Something deep inside told him Mina's fate, and everything that had happened was buried there. And someone was making sure he never reached it alive. Dawn broke over the city, painting the skyline in pale gold, but for Ryo, the light brought no peace. His father's grave lay miles away in a quiet village, far from the chaos of Tokyo. He drove there before sunrise, haunted by the echo of Hanada's words. Find the truth where it all began. The cemetery was shrouded in mist, the air heavy with silence. Rows of weathered stones stretched across the hillside. Ryo's footsteps echoed as he approached his father's grave, a simple stone etched with the name Kenji Tanaka. He knelt, brushing away the dew, when something strange caught his eye. The soil looked disturbed, freshly turned. His heart raced. He began digging with his bare hands until something hard hit the surface, a small metal box, sealed shut. Inside, wrapped in an old photograph, were documents marked Top Confidential, Aizawa Corp Internal Research. And beneath them, a flash drive. Ryo plugged it into his laptop. The screen flickered to life with a series of encrypted files, then a video. The recording showed his father sitting at a desk, his face pale and tired. "Ryo, if you're watching this, it means Hanada found you. I didn't die of illness, they killed me. Project Phoenix wasn't about business, it was about people." Ryo leaned closer. "What do you mean, people?" "They were experimenting, manipulating biometric data to control emotions through medical implants. Mina's father and I created the prototype. She doesn't know, but she's the final subject. They implanted it in her years ago after her accident." Ryo's blood ran cold. Mina's car crash, the one she never spoke about, it wasn't an accident. His father's trembling voice continued. "If Hanada completes it, he'll control anyone injected with the serum. Stop him, Ryo. Protect Mina. She's the key to ending all of this." The screen went black. Ryo stared in stunned silence, his entire world collapsing. Mina wasn't just a victim, she was the core of Project Phoenix. Suddenly, he heard a faint crunch of gravel behind him. He turned slowly. and there among the graves stood Hanada, flanked by two men in black suits. "So you found Daddy's secrets," Hanada said with a smile. "Too bad you won't leave this place alive." Ryo grabbed the flash drive and bolted between tombstones, bullets slicing through the fog behind him. He dove behind a stone angel, heart pounding, clutching the drive tight. But as he turned to escape, one of the men caught him by the collar, slamming him to the ground. The flash drive flew from his hand, skidding across the wet grass, straight toward Hanada's feet. Hanada bent down, picking it up. "You just dug your own grave, Ryo." He raised his gun, but before he could pull the trigger, a shot rang out from the distance. Hanada's shoulder jerked back, blood splattering his coat. Ryo turned toward the sound. Through the fog, Mina stood with a pistol, her eyes cold, determined, and filled with heartbreak. "You're not taking him," she said. The sound of the gunshot still echoed through the mist. Birds scattered from the trees as Hanada staggered back, clutching his shoulder, rage twisting his face. "Mina," he hissed, "you should have stayed unconscious." Ryo pushed himself up from the ground, eyes wide. "Mina, how did you?" "You think I'd let you face him alone?" she said softly, her voice shaking. "I remember everything now, what my father did, what Hanada made me forget." Hanada laughed darkly, wiping blood from his sleeve. "Oh, please, you remember the pain but not the truth. You were a test subject, Mina. You are Project Phoenix." Ryo moved in front of her protectively. "You're lying." Hanada's smirk deepened. "Am I? Tell me, Ryo, has she ever told you about her episodes? The moments she forgets everything, the headaches, the way she wakes up in pain with no memory of the night before." Mina froze, her hand trembled on the gun. "Ryo," she whispered, tears in her eyes, "it's true, there are times I can't remember, hours gone." Hanada took a slow step forward. "Every time the implant activates. You were never meant to be healed, Mina. You were meant to be controlled." "Enough!" Ryo roared, charging forward. He tackled Hanada, sending them both crashing into the muddy ground. The gun slid away. They fought viciously, fists and fury in the rain. Ryo's knuckles split open, Hanada's lip bled, the flash drive still clutched in Hanada's uninjured hand. "You can't stop evolution, Ryo," Hanada shouted. "You think love can save her. Love's just a chemical one I helped design." Ryo's fury boiled over. He struck Hanada again and again until the man went still. When he looked up, Mina was gone. "Mina," he shouted, scanning the fog. And then through the mist, he saw her walking toward the cliff's edge, her steps slow, dazed. Rain fell harder, wind whipping her hair across her face. Ryo ran to her, grabbing her wrist. "Mina, stop, what are you doing?" She turned to him with empty eyes, her voice hollow. "He's right, Ryo, I feel it. Something inside me is waking up. I can hear his voice in my head." Ryo shook his head desperately. "Fight it, look at me, Mina, look at me." She met his gaze, trembling. "If I lose control, I could hurt you. I'd rather die than let that happen." Before he could answer, she suddenly screamed, clutching her head. A faint red glow pulsed beneath her skin at the base of her neck. Ryo's eyes widened. "The implant." Mina fell to her knees, shaking violently. Ryo held her close, crying out as her body went limp in his arms. And then her eyes opened again. But they weren't the same. They glowed a faint, unnatural red. "Ryo," she said, her voice cold, mechanical, "you should have left me buried with the past." Ryo's breath caught in his throat. The red glow in Mina's eyes pulsed like a heartbeat, unnatural and steady. "Mina, this isn't you, fight it," he shouted, gripping her shoulders. Her body trembled violently, and for a moment he thought she would scream again. But then she spoke, calmly, almost eerily. "I remember everything now, and I can't stop it." Ryo felt a sharp stab of fear. The implant, Project Phoenix, wasn't just controlling her body. It was rewriting her mind. "The flash drive," he muttered, pulling it from his pocket. "It has the deactivation codes. We can fix this, together." Mina's head jerked toward him, eyes glowing brighter. "Do you really think it's that simple?" she said. Voice layered with her own tone and something else. The rain pounded harder, wind whipping across the cliffside. Ryo pulled her closer. "I don't care what's controlling you. You're Mina, the woman I married. I won't let this take you." For a brief moment her eyes softened. "Ryo," she whispered. The red glow dimmed slightly. He used the moment to insert the flash drive into the small reader hidden in the base of the cliffside railing, a device he had found among his father's old files at the villa. The screen flickered with a countdown. "System override 3:00 minutes remaining." Suddenly the wind shifted violently, nearly knocking them both over. Ryo held Mina tightly, shielding her. "It's working," he shouted. But then a metallic hum filled the air. The red glow in Mina's eyes flared brighter than ever, stronger, almost defiant. Her body arched violently, breaking Ryo's grip. "You're too late, Ryo," she screamed. A gust of wind nearly sent her off the cliff. Ryo lunged, grabbing her wrist just in time. The countdown continued, 1 minute remaining. Ryo looked into her eyes, searching for the woman he loved, the real Mina buried beneath the machine. "Fight it, Mina, fight it for us," he yelled, pulling her close. Her eyes flickered between red and brown, a battle inside her mind. She gasped, shaking uncontrollably. "I won't hurt you," she whispered. The countdown hit 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Ryo pressed the override button just as lightning struck nearby, illuminating the cliffside in a blinding flash. The red glow in Mina's eyes shattered, replaced by her normal brown eyes. She collapsed into Ryo's arms, trembling but alive. Ryo held her tight, rain soaking them both. "You're back, you're really back," he whispered. But as they embraced, a distant shadow watched from the forest Hanada's figure, unscathed, smiling coldly. "This isn't over," he muttered. The storm began to fade, leaving the cliffside slick and quiet. Mina shivered in Ryo's arms, her body finally still, her breathing ragged. I'm okay now," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Ryo held her tighter, relief flooding through him. "I won't let anything happen to you again, Mina, I promise." For a brief moment, the world felt calm. They laughed weakly through tears, clinging to each other as if the rain could wash away the horrors of the past days. But peace was fleeting. Ryo noticed footprints in the mud leading away from the cliff, too deliberate, too precise. "Mina, we're not alone," he muttered. Before she could respond, a familiar voice called out from the forest. "Congratulations, Tanaka, you've survived for now." Ryo's eyes widened. Hanada stepped out of the shadows, a new figure beside him, a woman in a black suit, unfamiliar but commanding. "Who's she?" Mina whispered, trembling. "The one who will finish what I started," Hanada said with a cruel smile. "Project Phoenix will be reborn." Ryo gritted his teeth. "I won't let you hurt her, not again." Hanada laughed, and in an instant, both he and the woman disappeared into the forest, leaving only broken branches and mud behind. Mina clutched Ryo's hand. "Ryo, they're still out there, and now they know we know." Ryo looked at her, determination hardening his expression. "Then we fight, we end this together." But as they turned to leave, a black SUV silently slid to the edge of the cliff, its tinted windows hiding a pair of eyes watching them. "Game isn't over yet," a voice muttered from inside. Ryo's stomach sank. The war wasn't just with Hanada, someone bigger, someone hidden, was pulling the strings. And Mina, the woman he loved, the one he saved from becoming a weapon, was still in danger. Back in Tokyo, Ryo and Mina found temporary refuge in a small, nondescript apartment. The rain-soaked cliffside was behind them, but the threat loomed closer than ever. Ryo spread out the files from the flash drive on a small table, trying to piece together the full scope of Project Phoenix. "It's bigger than we thought," he muttered, scanning the encrypted documents. "Hanada, he's just a pawn. There's someone above him, someone controlling the corporation, the experiments, even your father's death." Mina's hands trembled as she leaned over his shoulder. "So all these years, my life, our marriage, your father's death, it was all planned." Ryo nodded grimly. "Yes, and we're the only ones who can stop it, but we need a plan and allies." That night, Ryo received an encrypted message on his phone. "Envelope with arrow, meet me at the old warehouse on Dock 9. I know the truth about Hanada and the woman. Come alone." Ryo's heart pounded. The sender was anonymous, but he felt a strange sense of urgency and trust. He arrived at the warehouse at midnight. The place smelled of oil and rust, shadows stretching across the walls. A figure emerged from the darkness, Shun, bleeding from previous encounters, but alive. "You're asking yourself why I'm here," Shun said, voice hoarse. "Hanada betrayed me too. I know who's behind Project Phoenix, and it's bigger than you can imagine." Ryo's eyes narrowed. "Why should I trust you?" Shun held up a small device, a microchip. "This contains the core codes for Project Phoenix. Whoever controls it can manipulate emotions, loyalty, even memories. Your wife is the key, the prototype, but there's a way to destroy it permanently." Mina's face flashed in Ryo's mind. "And the cost?" he asked. Shun's gaze darkened. "The person who destroys the system risks their own mind. If you fail, you'll lose yourself, maybe forever. And Mina, she could die in the process." Ryo clenched his fists, determination hardening. "Then I'll take the risk. I'll do whatever it takes to save her and to end this nightmare." Shun nodded slowly. "Good, but there's one more thing. The real mastermind knows you have the flash drive. They've set a trap. You need to move fast. Midnight tomorrow, that's your only chance to infiltrate the main Aizawa tower." Ryo's stomach sank. "Midnight tomorrow alone?" "Yes," Shun said, "and if you fail, there's no coming back." Outside, the city lights flickered, rain beginning to fall again. Ryo looked at the skyline, at the tower where it all began, and whispered, "I'll save you, Mina, no matter what it takes." But he didn't see the figure watching him from the shadows, fingers brushing against a screen, monitoring every word, every move. Hanada wasn't finished, and the real mastermind was waiting. The night air was sharp as Ryo approached the Aizawa tower. The city below glittered, unaware of the storm brewing at its highest floors. His heart pounded. Mina's life, his father's legacy, and the fate of countless innocents all rested on what he was about to do. Shun had given him a blueprint of the building's security systems and the location of the main server room. Every camera, guard, and sensor had been mapped. But Ryo knew one wrong move could mean death, or worse, losing Mina forever. He slipped through a side entrance, shadows swallowing him. The elevator was long gone. He had to climb the service stairs. His arms burned, sweat and rain mixing on his skin. At last he reached the top floor, the heart of Project Phoenix. The server room glowed ominously, wires twisting like veins, humming with power. Ryo inserted the flash drive into the central console. A countdown appeared on the screen, 30 minutes, until the system initiated a full-scale activation, linking Mina's implant to global control networks. "Not today," Ryo muttered, fingers flying over the keyboard. Suddenly the lights flickered. A soft, chilling voice echoed through the room. "You've come far, Mr. Tanaka, but you won't leave here alive." Ryo froze. A figure emerged from the shadows, the mastermind cloaked, their face hidden. "Who are you?" Ryo demanded. The figure chuckled softly. "I am the one who perfected Project Phoenix. Mina was never just an heiress, she was the prototype. And now, you will watch her break, and there is nothing you can do to stop it." A panel opened in the server room wall, revealing Mina, restrained, eyes closed, breathing shallow. Tubes and wires attached to her neck pulsed faintly red. Ryo's chest tightened. "Mina," he shouted, charging forward. The mastermind raised a hand. "You won't touch her. She's mine, and through her the world will obey me." Ryo skidded to a stop, fists clenched. The countdown ticked mercilessly. 25 minutes, 20. He realized brute force wouldn't work. He needed cunning. He whispered to himself, "I've come too far, I can't fail now." The shadows shifted around him, and he noticed something small. A hidden maintenance panel, slightly ajar, just behind the servers. Ryo took a deep breath, slipping into the panel as the mastermind's attention focused on the main console. "This ends tonight," he murmured. But as he navigated the cramped space toward the control lines, the sound of approaching footsteps echoed, more guards, and the mastermind had called reinforcements. Ryo's heart pounded. Every second brought Mina closer to being lost forever. Ryo squeezed through the narrow maintenance panel, sweat and rainwater dripping down his face. Every heartbeat echoed in his chest. Mina's life was tied to the flashing red lights of the server room, and the countdown was merciless. 10 minutes remaining. He reached the main wiring hub behind the servers. Using the schematics Shun had given him, Ryo began rerouting the control lines, fingers shaking as he worked. Come on," he muttered. Inside the room, the mastermind watched the countdown, eyes narrowing. "You can't stop it, Tanaka. Every second you waste brings me closer to perfection." Ryo ignored the voice, cutting into the primary feed controlling Mina's implant. Sparks flew, the room lighting up in violent flashes. Mina stirred in her restraints, her eyes flickering red briefly before closing again. Ryo's heart ached. "I'm here, Mina, just hold on," he whispered. Suddenly, the mastermind lunged at the server bank, trying to stop him. Ryo grabbed a metal conduit and swung it, knocking them back. "No, not her," Ryo shouted, adrenaline surging. He returned to the wires, connecting the flash drive into the final port. The screen blinked. Override initiated. The red glow around Mina's neck pulsed violently. Her body convulsed as if fighting an invisible force. Ryo gritted his teeth and whispered, "Fight it, Mina. I won't let them take you." The mastermind screamed in rage, rushing forward again. But Ryo had anticipated it. He triggered an emergency lockdown, sealing the doors. Sparks flew, alarms blaring. The countdown hit 1 minute. Ryo's hands moved with desperate precision, reconnecting circuits, decrypting codes. The red glow around Mina's neck flared brighter, then slowly dimmed. "No, impossible," the mastermind screamed from behind the locked doors. With a final keystroke, Ryo activated the override. Mina's eyes snapped open, brown, warm, alive. She gasped, free from the implant's control. Ryo rushed to her, cutting the restraints. "Mina, it's over, you're safe." She collapsed into his arms, trembling. "Ryo, you saved me," she whispered, tears streaming. Outside, the locked doors shuddered. The mastermind pounded against them, furious, but the system had shut down. Project Phoenix was destroyed, and Hanada's reign of control ended. Ryo held Mina tightly as rain began to fall again, washing away the night's horrors. "We survived together," he said softly. But in the shadows, Hanada's loyal operative, the woman in black, watched silently. Her phone buzzed. "Envelope with arrow, Phase 2 begin." The war might have ended tonight, but someone was still planning a return. Ryo didn't know it yet, but as he looked down at Mina's trembling hands in his, he made a vow. "I will protect her, no matter what comes next." The first light of dawn broke over the city, golden and warm, painting the skyscrapers in hope. Ryo and Mina stood on the balcony of a small safe house, their hands intertwined, bodies soaked from the night's rain. The storm that had haunted them for weeks had finally passed, or so it seemed. Mina leaned her head against Ryo's shoulder, tears still streaking her face. "I don't remember the last time I felt safe," she whispered. Ryo kissed the top of her head gently. "You're safe now. I won't let anyone hurt you again, I swear it." Weeks passed. The world outside returned to its usual rhythm, but Ryo and Mina were changed. Trust, love, and resilience had been forged in fire. The shadows of Project Phoenix and Hanada's schemes lingered like distant echoes, but for the first time, hope outweighed fear. One evening, Ryo surprised Mina with a small dinner on their balcony. Candles flickered in the warm light. She laughed softly, a sound he thought he might never hear again. "Do you really think we can have a normal life now?" she asked. "We'll make our own normal," Ryo said firmly, holding her hand. "No contracts, no manipulations, just us." Mina smiled, leaning in. For a moment, the horrors of the past, the betrayal, the implants, the fight for her very soul melted away. "I believe you," she whispered. Suddenly, a soft chime from Ryo's phone made them pause. A message appeared from an unknown number. "Envelope with arrow, you've won the battle, but the war is never truly over." Ryo glanced at Mina. She looked into his eyes and squeezed his hand. "Then we'll face it together," she said. And in that moment, they knew something important. Love wasn't about perfection. It was about fighting through betrayal, fear, and uncertainty together. As the sun set, painting the city in shades of gold and crimson, Ryo held Mina close. The storm had ended. The future was theirs, uncertain, yes, but filled with hope, trust, and the kind of love that could survive even the darkest nights. Somewhere in the city, shadows waited, but for now they were free, and that was enough.